Hey, good afternoon. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or do reaction or however you do it. Okay. I'm not sure if the team, the students can hear me or not. Can you guys hear me? Yes? No? Okay. Well, we'll get started. So my name is Gary Alexander. I'm with the FAA. Flip that slide over here. I'm also a founding member of what's called the YGL. YGL is an acronym for Young Government Leaders. And basically what we do, and it's a Dallas chapter, the parent organization is out of DC. And basically what we do is we help people that want to come into the government. We help them understand the process of getting into the government, what the government is like. Once they're into the government, we help them understand how to move up the ladder, how to develop inside the government. So it doesn't matter, and then the other thing that, that I was talking with Heather about is what we're trying to do here is help people understand that there's a lot that the government has to offer, especially with aviation. And that's where I come in, aviation, space education. I'm also an outreach rep in aviation, space education. And basically what I do is I travel around, I talk to universities, military, high school. I even go out to elementary schools and talk to them about, what it's like and what we can offer. So we'll get into that. And as we move along, if you guys have any questions, just raise your hand or turn on your mic and I'll stop when you ask the question and I'll answer as best I can. And if there's something that we don't cover that you have a question about later after the course, just reach out to Heather and she'll follow up with me and I'll get you that answer for it. Sounds good? Okay. So the agenda for today is we'll talk about navigating USA jobs. We'll talk about the federal resume, specifically the formatting of the federal resume. And if we have enough time, we'll get into interviewing techniques. Usually I teach this class in about an hour or so, right? Because there's lots of information to cover, but I'm going to kind of condense it today. But if you have questions, I can come back, if Heather says it's okay, or you can reach out to me and ask me questions. Now, I'm not going to cover it too fast where you don't get information, but I'm going to make sure you get the nuts and bolts of it. Sounds good? Okay. So you may be asking yourself, well, where do I find federal jobs? And the answer to that question may seem a little top secret, but trust me, I assure you it's not. All you have to do is just go to USA Jobs. And when you get to USA Jobs, you might be wondering, well, why do we go to USA Jobs? Well, when you first get to USA Jobs, what you'll see is this page here. Now, you see where it says create a USA Jobs profile. Now, I highly recommend that you do create a USA Jobs profile. The website will walk you through creating a job profile. However, that's not what this course is about. Here today, we're talking about the federal resume, writing it, putting it together, targeting it to a specific job, and interviewing techniques. All of those are separate from the profile, right? Now, Dr. Stephen Covey says, sorry, I actually hit my screen here. All right, there we go. Dr. Stephen Covey says, begin with end in mind, right? And basically what he means there is, full screen. Oh, there we go. There's some strange stuff with my screen here. Okay, there we go. And basically what he means is to begin with end in mind means to begin with a clear understanding of your destination, where you want to go. Because if you know where you're going, then you can better understand the steps that you're taking are always in the right direction, in a nutshell. So that's the aim today, is to help you with this federal resume so that you know exactly what you're doing when you put it together. And not only that, a lot of times people write resumes and they send them out to companies or whatever, and they don't hear anything back. And they wonder, why didn't I hear anything back from that company? I put my resume together. What was going on? Well, there may have been a lot of reasons why. More than likely, you didn't necessarily target that resume to a specific job. And so understanding companies are getting lots of resumes, and what sets yours apart? If you target it to a specific job, that's going to set you apart.
Gary, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When the screen, we lost your screen share, if you want to pull that back up.
Oh, sorry.
No
Oh,
problem.
let me see, where am I here? Screen share. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfect. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. I accidentally hit my screen here and it went away.
No problem.
All right, so where are we here? Okay, so we had moved on to here. And so I said all that to say that we're targeting resumes, right? And so if you think about it, when you go to USA Job and you're looking around USA Job and you see all these jobs and you go, jobs, I like to call jobs targets of opportunity, right? Because they're there, but they're not always there. And someone said opportunity is when, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. We're not always prepared, but the opportunity is always there. So we want to target our resumes to meet that target opportunity. Does that make sense? Okay, so you're looking around in USA Jobs and you say, oh, that job looks pretty good. That one looks good too. That one is not too bad. And then all of a sudden you stumble on, oh, that's my dream job. That's the one I wanted. I live for this job. This got my name all over it. So then what do? Well, you got to go back to USA Jobs. And then you got to put together your resume. And then you got to upload it through USA Jobs. Now, when you go to USA Jobs, if you look there, you'll see this tab that says Explore Opportunities. This is one of the places that you really want to check when you first time you go to USA Jobs. And why? Because that's going to show you all the urgent needs within the federal government. Every agency that you can think of that's out there. One of the things I should tell you guys is that when we're talking about federal government, there are, gosh, I don't remember how many federal agencies are in Dallas. Dallas is kind of like a federal government hub. People don't really know that. I mean, every agency, just about every agency you can think of is here in Dallas. Secret Service is here in Dallas. Who knew? You know? So you go to Explore Opportunities and you'll see this little urgent hiring needs, and you can go in there and just kind of browse around. If anything jumps out at you, it pulls up all the different jobs in all the different categories. And if anything jumps out at you, that's a great place to start. Click the button and just go in there and just start looking around. You know, you're not obligating yourself by looking at it. You're just educating yourself on what's there, right? Then once you do that, then you can go come back out of there and you can search by job title, department, agencies. Then after that, once you figure out, let's say you say, Gary works at the FAA, maybe I'll put FAA in there. Then you can search for what location, where do you want to work? That's the beauty thing about USA Jobs. The beautiful thing about USA Jobs is that you can put in their agency you want to work for, or you can put in a job title that you want to work at, you think you may want to work on, and then you put in the city. But once you do that, then it'll pull up whatever you're looking for. So let's say you typed in FAA. See all those different cities that's there? Make sure you put Texas if you want to work in Texas. Because as you can see, there's a lot of Dallas places out there. But if you put Dallas, Pennsylvania, I'm not sure where that is. Okay, put Dallas, Texas. After you do that, then let's say you pulled up that job for FAA, like the one we were just looking at, and this is what it will look like. It'll show you this job is technical operations, and it'll show you the title of the job. It'll tell you the starting salary of the job. It'll tell you what type of position it is, meaning that we have several different types of positions. We have permanent, we have temporary, we have, there's one other one, I forget, but I know temporary is like you're gonna come in. There's also some internships as well, and that will show up in here as also. And you have the department that FAA is the Department of Transportation, but once you drill down into this, it'll tell you exactly what department within the FAA, because if you understand, all the government agencies is a big group, big company like, and then within the company, you have several small little companies within the company, right? So this is FAA, and it'll tell you what group it is within the FAA. And next, once you go into that, let's open it up. So we open it up, still the same title job here. Then you see the different categories, the different tabs you can click on. Each one of these gives you some more information, deeper information, helps you dive deeper into that specific job. So let's look at the overview. The overview again, it shows you, now this is very important. When you're looking at a job in USA Jobs, one of the first things that you want to key in on is one, the opening and the closing date. Now this job opened on 9/25/2020. It's not closing until 9/24/21. Normally, jobs are only open for 2 weeks. So normally that would have said 9/25/2020 to maybe 10/1/2020. But this one is open for so long because there's a desperate need for this type of position. Now, the pay scale that's showing on here, if you know anything about government, and you may not, but you heard people say GS pay scale, your GS 12, GS whatever. The FAA uses a different pay scale. They uses an FV pay scale, which is very similar in pay structures, just different stuff in the background of it. So when you're looking in here, don't be alarmed if you see FV on FAA stuff. If you go to GSA, it's going to say GS pay scale. If you go to DHS, it'll probably say GS pay scale, but it's the same, talking about the same kind of stuff. And if you say you should start with FAA as this FVF, which is I think an 11, then you can go to GSA as a GS 11. So it transfers like that. So don't worry. I just wanted to show you that. Then you'll see the salary per year, the work schedule full-time, and again, it says permanent. Now, what I was talking about with the specific company or group within there, it shows you up here at the top. This is technical operations. So it says technical operations up here, but it may have been within DFW, or it may have been some other specific group within technical operations. So that's another thing that you really want to look at when you're going into the USA Jobs and looking at the jobs. Okay, next, when we talked about the location, we showed location here, Dallas. And like I say, it says many vacancies in the following location throughout the nation, US. So they need this type of person all over the US, and they need them now. That's why it's open for so long. That's why I need them throughout the US. The next tab we go to is duties. This is important because this is going to tell you what the responsibilities are. It gives you a quick summary, but this is going to tell you kind of a little bit what are they going to do. So here's an opportunity for you to look and start saying, do I know anything about navigation and landing systems or surveillance or anything like that? If not, how can I learn something about that? Where can I go and get some information about that? This kind of gives you a starting point. Then it also tells you if you may be interested in traveling, this will tell you the percent of travel. That's another thing that you want to look at. I've seen people apply for jobs and didn't realize that, wait a minute, this job is going to be like 50% travel. I don't want to be gone from my family that much. I like staying at home, so you get that job, that's going to be an issue. So you want to try to eliminate all of those things in the beginning. That's why I mentioned at first, begin with the end in mind. What do you want to do? What do you think you want to do? Look around in USA Jobs and you can find out. When you find something you want to do, then drill down and look at that job. What is that job asking for? What is it going to ask you to do? Is it going to ask you to be on the road 75%? Is that something you want? Then don't apply for that one. Go to the next one. Then the next button tells you about requirements. Of course, U.S. citizenship required. And this job, they do random drug testing. Now, they don't do that on all the jobs, so don't worry about that. Well, I shouldn't say that, but they don't do random drug testing on all the jobs. Then another part of the requirements talks about the qualifications. And one of the things that you'll see on all the government jobs is what they're looking for is experience. They want to know about the qualification. Then you may say, well, shoot, I've never had a real job like this, so I don't have any experience. Yeah, you do. You have experience. You just have to understand how to write that experience so it makes sense, right? And that's where you can work with a recruiter, you can work with your counselor. Heather can help you. You know, you guys can reach out to me. I can help you, that kind of thing. What does it mean that you have basic work experience? Applicant must document 3 years of full-time, 40 hours a week, general work experience. What is general work experience? It could be anything. Here they are looking specifically for electronics, mathematics, computers, aeronautics. Have you worked on computers? Have you repaired any computers? If you have, boom, I'd apply for that, you know? So it's just little things. You have to just put the pieces together. They throw a lot of stuff out there, but it's important that you look at everything, line it out, pull out. These are what I call, these are bullet points that you want to pull out and start analyzing yourself. Do I have an understanding of computers? Do I have any understanding of aeronautics? Write it down, you know? Because this is just the first part. The second part is the interview. If you can get here, get your resume down good. And that's another thing. And we'll talk about the different resumes, but with the federal resume, when you're applying, you have to get past the computer first. Your resume has to get past the computer. If it gets past the computer, then it has to get past the HR person that's reviewing it. If it gets past the HR person that's reviewing it, then it has to get past a panel that's reviewing your packet. If you get past that level, then you may get an interview call. If you get past that level, then the selection is made. So it's a lot of steps just to get in, right? So you want to put your best foot forward every chance you get. And that's what I'm here to help you do. Put your best foot forward. And like I said, the first level was F, this is G, and it goes, each level goes a little bit higher. The first one was 3 years of just general experience. This one is a year of specialized experience. And each year, I should say pay grade, last one was an FVF, this was an FVG. Each pay grade, next one will be H, next one will be I and J, so forth and so on. Each time you grow up, H, I, J, they're asking for more and more experience, okay? And this one, and I should mention that this one listed all of those positions, F through J. That means that we need all of those levels throughout the country right now. And we've been needing them since 2020, and we still need them, okay? Those are pretty important people. And that takes us back to our agenda. Now we get into what you actually came for, the federal resume and the formatting of it. Now, by this point, your mind is probably going, this seems like, I don't know if I want to do this. Why? Because it just seems like it's too much work, right? To go through all the steps, jump through all the hoops. But needless to say, President Roosevelt said, nothing worth having comes easy. And Vince Lombardi said, the price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. And you guys can do this, no problem. With what I'm telling you, I'll be a resource for you, and you can reach out. You can make this happen. Now, let's talk about federal resume versus private industry. Today, what we want to concentrate on is the federal resume. So let's look at it. With the federal resume, one of the differences you'll see right off the bat, the private industry, you have 1 to 2 pages. The federal resume is a 3 to 5 page packet. In the private industry, you can get creative, graphics, eye-catching. They're not concerned with any of that in federal. It's all black and white. As there used to be a show, you guys probably don't know, but there used to be a show where the guy said, just the facts, ma'am. I'm not interested in color, glitzy stuff. I just want the facts. That's what they want. The government just wants the facts. Here on the private side, you don't have to put your supervisor's info and all that. On the government side, you do need to put your supervisor's info. Now, again, I talked about, you may think that, well, I haven't really done anything. I don't really have a job background. Maybe I worked at McDonald's. Okay, no problem. You know, put it down, put it down. Accomplishment, this is the golden nuggets. Accomplishments are your golden nuggets. If you worked at McDonald's, for example, right? And you can say, well, because of what I did at McDonald's, I saved McDonald's. I came up with an idea and I saved McDonald's, I don't know, $75,000 because I decreased the wait time. That's a golden ticket right there. Governments always look for people that are innovative, that have great ideas, that can make things happen. And you guys are on the cutting edge of that. Coming from Frisco, come on, please. It doesn't get any better than that. And you want to use a combination of accomplishments and duty descriptions. Basically, there's a thing they have called KSAs when you're putting together a federal resume. It's part of your packet. And the KSA is an acronym for knowledge, skills, and abilities. Basically what they want, because they're big on experience, what they want is for you to write it in a manner of what they call a CCAR. That's a challenge, context, action, and results. CCAR is an acronym. So again, we go back to McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's. What was the issue? Well, the issue was the line was taking too long to get through. Well, what did you do? What did you do? Your actions in there. Well, I came up with this idea, and because I came up with this idea, result, it decreased the wait time at the window. Bam, you've already answered all those questions, and they're like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. Let's talk some more. So you ask, what should I include in my federal resume? Well, again, we talked about the experience. You have to list the start and end dates, including the month and year. You don't have to do the date, the actual day. Number of hours you work per week, level of experience, for instance, whether you serve as a project manager, team member, team lead. Team lead is very big, you know, so you can be a team lead on a lot of different jobs. Any project, school projects, if you can be a team lead on a school project, that's good stuff. So don't discount yourself. I'm trying to help you understand, no matter what, do not discount yourself. Put your best foot forward. So I put together parts of my resume so you guys can, you know, just see how it would look, how I would write it. Now, first of all, let me stop you here because I don't make $400,000 a year, you know. So don't report me saying, you know, this guy said he makes $400,000 a year, you know. So disclaimer. But if they want to pay me that, I'm okay. But anyway, so my position is Aviation Technical Systems Specialist. I'm a lead planner for planning and integration. My series, that's a big thing. You can go to OPM's website and look up different series. So when you look at that job, when you go to USA Jobs, it tells you, let's say it's Aviation Technical Systems Specialist. It's going to tell you the series. And if you want to know what that series means, because that series is specific to a certain type of position. So you look at opm.gov and it will explain that series to you, because all government jobs, even though they have a pay band level, they also have a series that attach to that pay band level. Because, for example, I could be a 2186, meaning I'm doing technical work and making this amount of money, and I'd be a FBJ, but I could also be an 0343 or something like that, which is program management, doing, you know, managing people and that kind of thing, making the same amount at the same pay grade. Make sense? So, and the reason that you want to look at the series is because you want to think and figure out, do I have anything that I can compare with that series that can help me fit into that series, right? So that's why you want to look at the series. The next line would be my supervisor's name and my supervisor's telephone number. Yes, Alexander, never mind. And the position that I held while I was there and what I did while I was there. These are details that they're looking for. Then what I was telling you about those golden nuggets, these are those golden nuggets. Key contributions. What did you do? What makes you stand out? How did you contribute to that company, whoever it was that you worked for? Here, I was able to help them recoup $50,000 in insurance funds. Wow, that's a big deal, because automatically they see that, wow, this guy's helping save money, so I want him on my team. So if you've done anything where, if you can attach, let's say I saved some money somehow, I increased volunteership, I got a letter of accommodation or a certificate of accommodation or a thank you from, say, the mayor or whatever. If you can do any of that kind of stuff and you can document it, that's a golden ticket. That's a big ticket item, and you want to do that. So any of your volunteer work, you know, I volunteered for the city of Frisco for 2,000 hours, and the mayor said, hey, thank you for doing that. Boom, put that letter in there. That's outstanding work. Great stuff. And when you put those two together, this is what it would look like. So again, you see, I don't have any pictures on there. I don't have any fancy writing. I don't have any colors, because they're not really interested in any of that. They just want to get straight to the point. Why am I even looking at your resume? Okay. Any questions so far? I know I've been moving kind of fast, talking fast, that kind of thing. But if you have any questions, please ask. So now we come to the part about you. This is where you get your opportunity to shine. This is what we've been talking about. Now you've written your resume, you went through all that, you found your job, you tailored your resume to that specific job, which after this point, nobody that's online, listen to me, should ever, ever, ever go back and just do a blanket resume to say, I'm going to send a resume out. No. Now you know that you need to target that resume. If you want any opportunity to at least sit down in front of someone, you got to target that resume to the job that you're looking at, okay? That's when the show, You, the movie, starts playing at that point. We talked about this CCAR. These are behavioral-based interviewing techniques. And basically, this is what now the government, that's what they do. They don't ask you, let's say you're applying for a job in electronics. They don't ask you, how do you figure out Ohm's law? You know, what's the formula for, you know, physics? They don't ask you any of that stuff. They ask you, tell me about a time when you were the lead of a team and you had a timeline, you had a project to finish, and how did you do that? And you didn't have any support from management. How did you do that? Those are what's called behavior-based questions, where you are asked to tell a story. And the way you do that is by using the CCAR method: challenge, context, action, and response, right? That's going to be very important. The context is the factors contributing to the challenge. The challenge is the problem. Well, let me back up. The factors contributing to the problem. Well, there was civil unrest. There was all this kind of stuff going on. The challenge. Because there was civil unrest, well, my building wasn't safe. So what did you do? Well, I put roadblocks out. I put cones out, you know, to make sure that people didn't come within 100 feet of the building or something like that. And the results, no one was injured. In a simple nutshell, that was the context, the factors that contributed to the challenge, the problem, your steps, and the outcome of your efforts. Then some people have problems in doing this because we've all been taught we don't want to brag about ourselves. There's no I in team. There is no I in team, but there is I in you're getting employed. There's a whole lot of I in that. So what we want to know is, what do you do? You may have been part of a team, but what was your specific contribution? If you can explain that, that's what we want to know. Typical question. Describe a time when you were asked to solve an issue that had never happened before without having any authority to do so. What was the issue and what did you do? It's those kind of questions that trip people up. And when you're answering those questions, one of the things that you need to do, go back to the challenge, the context, challenge, action, and results to answer those questions. Okay, because you've done all the work putting your resume together. It's made it past all those multi-levels that I talked about. Now you're sitting in front of an interview panel, and usually an interview panel is like 3-4 people, something like that. That's not a problem, as long as you answer the question using the CCAR method. And again, one of the things when I've done interview panels, one of the things that I've seen people do is give a good answer to the question that's asked, but they don't bring the question back to the job. So for example, if you said, and I saved my company. No one got hurt in my office because I shut down the elevator or whatever it was that you did. Take that back to the job that you're applying for. And because now I would bring that same level of security mindedness to this security job that I'm applying for here. And by doing so, I'll be able to save your people if XYZ were to happen. But I just put that back on the company where I'm sitting trying to get the job. So they know, oh, he's connecting the dots, or she's connecting the dots between what they did and how they answered the question and the job that they're interviewing for. Bam, they're on top of it. If you do that, and it doesn't matter, try doing this, even if you don't go to work for the government. Take it in your mind, take this from this conversation to start doing that when you interview. That's going to make you a powerful interviewer. That's going to give you lots more wins than you get losses when you can tie it back. Because as you move up the ladder, you're going to understand more about return on investment. What you do now matters. How does what you do affect something down the road? How does that come back to the company? How does it affect the company? That's where you start here. What you've done out there, how can that help me? Because that's all the person that's interviewing you wants to know. You did all this. How does it help me? You answered my question, and it's great, but how does it help me? If you can tie it back and answer that question without them asking it, boom, you're ahead of the game. That was always in your response by trying to answer back to the position you're applying for. And that's what I was just talking about. Again, and that was the last slide. So I know that I went through really fast. I know I said a lot. I used a lot of examples. Questions. I know there's got to be at least one. Who's scratching their head out there saying, no, I don't know if I want to do this, and tell me why. I tell you what, tell me what kind of jobs are you guys interested in? What do you think you want to do? Anybody? Ian, talk to me.
Well, I'm sort of like, I'm not that sure right now. Like, I know I want to go into like aerospace engineering, but
Mm-hmm.
not like really sure like what do I like really want to get into yet. Like, I haven't really explored that much.
Mm-hmm. What do you like doing? I mean, okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be FAA, but what do you like doing? What are your hobbies?
Well, I kind of like playing Kerbal Space Program. I like I like to like build stuff. I like to come up with ideas. So I mean, if I were to say one necessarily government job, perhaps either being I mean, it's kind of hard because like I'm not really like sure. Like I like building stuff, so I like coming up with ideas. So it's like
So I just heard you list out 3 different jobs there. I heard you list out stuff about IT. I heard you list out about design work, instructional design. I heard you list out project management. Those are all jobs that I just heard in the description that you gave. And I'm not saying you have to go into any of those, but I just want you to think bigger picture that there's stuff out there. Wow, I didn't even think about that. And the other thing is that everybody may not want to go to college. And Heather, don't cut me off here, but it's okay that college isn't for everyone, okay? But there are jobs for everyone, okay? And there are jobs within the federal government where you don't necessarily have to have a college degree. You do have to get some technical training or something like that, where you can make a good living. I mean, make good money, okay? So I'm just saying. And of course, you got all these different benefits. Like, I got lots of leave, I can take, during the year and that kind of stuff, So it's an option. It's an option. What do you think, Vina? Is that pronounced right? Vina? Is it Vina? Vinay?
Hi.
Janet? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vina.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were asking me.
I was asking, what do you think? What do you like to do? What do you think about what we said so far? You got any questions, anything?
I'm not super, I don't know if this is in the field of government jobs, but I have an interest in journalism and writing, and somewhat of an interest in legal work or law or debate
Mhm.
or something. I don't
So
know
it's
if
funny
that's
that you
it.
mentioned that because well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was just telling Heather a few minutes ago before we got started that every job that's out there is in the federal government too. Because you think about when you own a business, one of the biggest contractors for small business is the government. You know, so a lot of things get tried out in the government before they're introduced to the public. You know, so for example, let me see if I got it pulled up here. I went to USA Jobs. Yes, let me see if I can share my screen here. I'm gonna show you something. Share my screen. There we go. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so Vina, look at these positions here. So all I did was I went there and I just typed in Dallas. You see, I typed in federal aviation here, and then I typed Dallas, Texas over here. And then I said, let me look within a 35-mile radius of Dallas. Or let's put it out to a 50-mile radius because it's a pretty big area. Let's say a 50-mile radius. There are 70 jobs open right now within a 50-mile radius of the whole Dallas Metroplex. 70 jobs open. And if I want to pull it out even further, there may be even more jobs, But looking at that, so you see these are all STEM engineering jobs, but then there's cybersecurity positions. And you talked about something like that. There are medical officer positions. There are jobs for people with disabilities. There are legal jobs. So to your point about, look, safety inspector, there is environmental protection, and there's 3 pages of jobs there. You can see that 3 pages of jobs. So all I'm saying by saying that is that I work with judges. In fact, I don't know if you guys remember, several years back, there was issues. They were having issues with kids shining those lasers into the cockpit of planes, lasers. And so what happens is when it hits the cockpit, it kind of blinds the pilot, and the pilot is trying to land the plane, right? The lead prosecutor for those kind of cases is right here in Fort Worth. He's the lead prosecutor for that. So I'm saying that there are lawyers. I work with a ton of lawyers. I do project management. And so we have to make agreements with airports on what we will do for them, what we won't do for them, how much money we can give them, how much money it's going to take for us to do it. All that has to go through legal. So I do all that. I'm talking multi-million-dollar projects is what I work with. Okay. Legal, we have security, we have the Federal Protective Service, we have a group called ASK, they deal with hazmat stuff. We have, you talked about writing, journalism, we have technical writers, all the documentation, somebody has to write that. We produce movies, videos, someone has to do that. We produce books, someone has to do that. Technical writers do that. Journalists do that. Any story that comes out to the public has to go through our public affairs office. Journalism, people that know how to speak to the public. All of that stuff is there. All I have to do is just go on there. Say, huh?
Thank you. I wanted to ask, um, so when we're filtering, how do I search for, say, like legal related jobs, or do you go directly to a administration or a company that you want to work to when you're filtering?
Okay, because you see my screen. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Vina, can you see it? Okay, so you ask about legal. Let's say legal, right? Legal, let's just leave it at legal. All these are different types of legal jobs. See all that? Lots of different
Yeah,
types of
thank
legal.
you.
And remember I said there's the different positions type that you see intern there, spring. In fact, I'm currently working with the Federal Executive Board, and I'm working with a patent law judge. And she's looking to try and bring people in for internships to do clerking, right? So, I mean, legal is out there. So we put in legal, and then we go over here and say, okay, where do you want to work? Let's say I want to work in Dallas. We always say Dallas because Dallas would cover Dallas and Fort Worth. Dallas, Texas. Are there any legal job search? 9 legal jobs open right now. And you know, it says aviation safety inspector, but this is dealing with in the legal part of it. So it's petitions branch, regulatory, that's all legal work, right? And regulatory and petitions, those are people, now, mostly are dealing with lawyers, but they have to write. And so they have to have their documentation written. So who does that? Journalists write that kind of stuff. Legal reviews it, you know, because it has to be in legal speak, so to speak. So does that make sense, Bina? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Uzar, did I say it right? Uzar? Uzair?
Hi, it's Uzair.
Uzair, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
So what, any questions, Uzair? What do you
No,
think?
I don't really have any questions.
Mhm.
Um,
When I go, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you can talk.
Okay, y'all. When I go out and talk to schools, right, I generally ask, you know, what do you think you want to do? What kind of job? What are you thinking about? Well, you don't have to be a pilot. We did this thing just recently called an airport design challenge, where we worked with kids all the way from elementary through high school. They worked in teams, and it was international. Like, I was one of the mentors, and I had a team from England, a team from the Philippines, a team from China. It was an international thing, challenge, that we had teams of 1 to 4 people on a team. And basically their challenge was to design an airport. And so it was designing an airport, and this is something that you might like, Ian, designing an airport using, Minecraft. So basically what you do is you join up with us, and we would send you information. Okay, this week we're going to be working on designing the lighting system of an airport. Okay, you get your lighting system designed, and you can come back to us. You will be assigned a mentor, and that mentor is there for you. Reach out to him through your coach and say, listen, I want to know, I don't know, what's the intensity of the lights? You know, how many lights do I need to have on the runway or whatever? That mentor would come back with the answer. You need X amount of lights. You also would choose the airport that you want to design. Let's say I want to design a DFW, or you could choose an airport that's close by you. Let's say you live in McKinney. Well, I want to design McKinney Airport. Okay, that's fine, you know? And then you work on that. It's like a 5-week process, and you actually design an airport. If I could pull that up, I would show you guys some of the design. It's locked right now, so I can't pull it up. But those kids really came through, and they designed some fantastic stuff, right? And it's all through Minecraft. And basically, all we were trying to do is just show people that there are so many other things that you can do that are STEM related, that are aviation STEM related. And so we're just trying to open that field up, let your mind run free. Think about all the different things you can do, because whatever you can do in, say, at IBM or Texas Instruments, you can do that same thing here in the government. I promise you. Any more questions? Anyone else? Did I lose anyone?
I got another question.
Yes, sir.
So, it's kind of a funny question, but like, how like would you become like, you know, I guess secretary of like transport or something like that within like the executive branch? Like, I'm just like wondering how.
So your question, how would you become a temp in the executive branch?
Okay, basically, probably become one of the cabinet members in the executive branch. Like, I'm not like sure like how, because like
How would you
I
become?
know that like Pete Buttigieg, the current one, the current transport secretary, like he was the mayor of a town in Indiana previously. So I'm like wondering like how would you be able to do it? Like, does the
Well,
president
so
have to choose you?
yeah, so those are elected positions, so you have to run for office, but you need to have some sort of experience, either you were a business person at a high level and you can make those top level decisions, because once you get into that cabinet level position, you're going to be making decisions at the highest level that's going to affect a lot of people, a lot of lives. So one, it's elective. One, you have to have a background where you were in some sort of position, i.e. mayor, i.e. business person like, Bloomberg or whatever, that you can make those kind of decisions that are sound somewhat, So if another way you can get in is say by doing internships with your local congressional representative, right? Start doing internships with it and understanding how all that stuff works. You can also reach out to the city mayor, reach out to their office and ask them about doing some internships there, because you have to start understanding how government works in that arena, because it's different in that arena than it is in my arena. Our arena, we're not concerned about all that other stuff. Now, there are things that we are concerned about, like noise in the community. Airplanes flying overhead, we get complaints. How do we settle those complaints? The airport wants to expand. They want to put more buildings out there. They want to get more planes to land. How do we help them with that? We're concerned with those kind of things. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I would, if you're thinking about going in that line, I would definitely reach out to my local, just send a letter. One thing that people don't do is they don't ask, so you just go all this time just thinking, I wonder. Ask. They'll tell you. Your congressional representatives, they want to hear from you anyway. They'd be flattered, I think. Anyone else? Any other questions? Heather, anything? I think, I'm open, guys. If you have anything else, I don't want to push it or anything, but I want you to know that if you need information, I told Heather earlier that I'm working with the Federal Executive Board also, and the Federal Executive Board is a consortium of executives that are charged to help all the federal agencies in the area be better. Well, that means developing their people or providing training courses for their people or whatever. And so I'm on the I'm the chair of the Workforce Development Committee, which means that my job is to really reach into those other agencies and see what you need. What do you need in your agency? What do you need in your agency? Let's see if we can come together and give you what you need or help you develop what you need to develop your people. And I say that to say to you guys that all these agencies that we have here, they're always looking to reach out to the public. That's the biggest thing that they want to do. They're really concerned. They want to make sure they have a relationship with the public, right? And so there are all these things that they do that are out there. You can go and look up FEB. You can look up YGL, Young Government Leaders, the website that we have locally, and see what we do. We have get-togethers and that kind of thing. There are a lot of internships. Some of the groups that I work with they work with high schools. So basically, I'm just kind of piquing your ear, just saying, hey, listen, there are things out there that if you think maybe I'm not sure what I want to do, but just explore. At this point, you don't have to know what you want to do. If you're not graduating, you don't have to know what you want to do, but just explore. Because if you do an internship, even let's say you do what we do, we call it an ACE camp. And let's say you go and ACE camp is where you go out and you look at what people do. You do look at the airplanes, maybe even get to fly on an airplane, that kind of stuff. Maybe you're not interested in that. Maybe you're interested in being an aircraft mechanic, but you wouldn't have known had you not went out and saw that. That's all I'm saying. Just explore. Don't hold yourself back. Right now is a pretty important time in your life, and you got all the time in the world. And now it's when you should be exploring, trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do. Because, man, the time is wide open. I told Heather, we have all this stuff. One of the things with the FAA is that, again, we have all the jobs that all the other agencies have and then some. But one of the things that we have is that we have a shortage of employees. And basically what I mean, and I'm not just talking about FAA, I'm talking about aerospace industry. That means Bell Helicopter, that means Boeing, that means anybody you can think of that has anything to do with space. That includes NASA. There are all these jobs that are already there that we're trying to fill, but then all these other companies are developing stuff. We got Amazon that's using drones now. There's Uber Air trying to come online, where they're flying people around, so it's like, but we don't have people in those positions. So we're trying to help get people with minds like yours to understand there's more opportunity out there. You don't have to be an engineer. You don't have to be a lawyer. It's there. Think about it.
Thank you,
And I'll
Gary.
see you
There's a
guys
few
on-
questions in the chat. One student was just wondering if they could have your email address in case they have questions later.
Sure.
If that was okay.
Sure.
If you want to drop that in the chat form, if you want me to, I can too, if you need me to.
Okay, that's
and
fine.
then
You drop it.
Another student had a question. Vina was asking, for all the jobs on the database you showed us, do they need to apply with a federal resume for all of those?
Yes, because that whole job site is only federal jobs. It's usajobs.gov. They're only federal jobs there. And so you have to use a federal resume on all those jobs. Was there another question?
And I said I was going to put your email in, but I closed my spreadsheet that had it. So if you want to put it in there real fast, Gary, before they
Okay.
log
Okay.
off. I want to thank you for being here for tonight. I loved all the information you shared, and I wrote down, I especially liked the interview tip you gave us about the CCAR
Mhm.
method. And I'm like, that is so true. And I love that little acronym because that is definitely a way to highlight your work and experience in an interview. And so thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys practice mock interviews at school, or I'm not sure, I know you do you have a business incubator and all that stuff, if you do mock interviews, try that, if you need help setting up mock interviews, reach out to me, something, we have within our company, we have what we call interview stream, which basically, let's say I want to interview for a certain job, I can type in a job I want to start interviewing for, and then I can practice interviewing like I'm interviewing with someone for that job. And it will record me, so I see how I look when I'm answering the questions, so I see how I'm sitting, all that kind of stuff. And those are things that are important, because I remember going through one of those interview training sessions, where they teach you how to answer questions. And there was a guy, a friend of mine, we were both retired Marines, but this guy was sitting in front of the interview panel, mock interview panel, mind you. And he just starts sweating profusely. He's like, looked like he had been swimming, and I'm thinking, this guy was a Marine. Why is he sweating like that? But just sitting there in front of those people being grilled about those questions affects people differently. So the more you get a chance to practice that, the more polished you are and ready for the interview that you are when you go and sit before someone. So this is something that you guys can practice, at school. And just get a group together, practice. Yeah. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, then, I appreciate, I put my information in the chat there. And you guys, I know you'll think of some questions later on and you'll reach out to me. Don't worry, no question is a problem. Just reach out, you got a question, send it to me and I'll respond as best I can. Okay?
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Gary. Thank you so much for being here. And
Okay.
thank you guys for logging on tonight. You all have a wonderful evening.
All right. Take care,
Thank you.
guys. Thanks for listening. See ya. Bye.